Azura City. At the Falling Lake District venue, the decision assembly of the Three Domains Alliance was still underway. But because of the earlier incident, few of the domain lords spoke. The atmosphere inside the venue had become rather awkward. As the host, Enqua was gloomy inwardly, but he still had to maintain appearances. He forced a faint smile onto his face and was just about to say something when the gray ring on the little finger of his left hand suddenly tightened. 4 horizontal markings were engraved on the ring: green, purple, silver, and gold. The green marking slowly dimmed, turning gray. The smile on Enqua's face froze instantly. A vein bulged on his forehead, but it disappeared just as quickly. Although the change in his expression lasted only an instant, everyone present possessed extraordinary cultivation. Almost all of them noticed it, and their hearts stirred. Domain Lord En, your complexion does not look very good. Could it be that you have overworked yourself these past few days? Huangfu raised her brows and asked. It is nothing. This assembly has finally achieved some small results today. At least it was not a waste for everyone to travel such a long distance here, Enqua said calmly. Domain Lord En is too modest. This assembly concerns matters of great importance, tied to the future rise or decline of our gray realm. Everyone seated here governs a domain, so coming here was naturally part of our duty, Xiaobai said with a smile. By the way, has there been any result regarding the matter in the soul cleansing district? Why not tell us all about it? Huangfu suddenly changed the topic and asked again. It is only a minor disturbance in the soul cleansing district. There is no need for Palace Master Huangfu to worry about it. Let us continue with the assembly. Today is the first day of decisions. After the discussions over the past few days, I believe everyone present has already made up their minds. Next, please speak freely and share your views, Enqua said, his expression already calm again. Huangfu's eyes flickered slightly, and she turned to glance at Xiaobai. Xiaobai happened to be looking over as well. The two exchanged a glance, and a strange look flashed in both their eyes. Yet just as Enqua finished speaking, a gray jade pendant hidden beneath the front of his robe at his waist silently shattered. Elsewhere in Azura City, inside a spacious hall, the place seemed to be used for receiving guests. Antique tables, chairs, and furnishings had been arranged throughout, giving it an elegant and comfortable atmosphere. Around the hall, a layer of misty gray light shimmered, forming a gray light screen that enveloped the entire hall. At the center of the hall, 2 figures sat facing each other. One of them was an elderly man with white hair and beard. It was Feng Qingshui of the Heavenly Court, who was currently lowering his head and savoring tea. The other person wore a gray robe, with wide lips and a cold face. From his appearance, he was clearly another Enqua. However, this Enqua's figure drifted faintly, like a wisp of smoke, as though he were not a physical body. Suddenly, gray light flashed over Enqua's body, and his expression turned incomparably gloomy, like dark clouds gathering before a storm. Fellow Taoist, has something happened again? I am only wasting time sitting here drinking tea. If you have any difficulties, I am willing to lend a hand. This spiritual avatar of yours is limited in strength and may not be of much use, Feng Qingshui said slowly, his eyes flickering as he set down his teacup. Thank you for your concern, fellow Taoist Feng, but the situation is still under control. There is no need for you to trouble yourself. Just enjoy your tea here in peace, Enqua said. Fellow Taoist, we are allies with aligned interests. Why must you guard against me so severely? Feng Qingshui frowned, somewhat displeased. When I need your help, I will naturally speak. Until then, please continue sitting here quietly and drinking tea. Enqua snorted, then said indifferently. His body swayed and vanished into thin air. The gray light screen around the hall rippled slightly, then suddenly thickened several times over. Seeing this, Feng Qingshui gave a faint cold smile and raised his teacup again, though a thoughtful look flashed in his eyes. Inside the baleful cleansing pool, after Han Li and the others helped Ancestor Lu Qi sever one chain, they sat down cross-legged where they were. Each of them took out various recovery pills and swallowed them, then drew out Immortal Essence Stones to restore their strength. At the center of the thunder pool on the giant cross, Ancestor Lu Qi had closed his eyes. One hand formed an incantation gesture, and he murmured words under his breath, as if preparing something. Since the green lightning chain had been severed, the aura radiating from his body had clearly risen sharply. But at that moment, his eyes suddenly opened, and he looked toward a certain wall. There, on the originally smooth surfaces of more than 100 white crystals, a layer of dim light suddenly appeared. Rings of runes emerged on their surfaces and began spinning rapidly. Then a gray, misty humanoid figure gradually took shape. It looked somewhat distorted and was clearly not a physical body. Han Li and the others' expressions changed sharply, and they all stood up. "Master!" Taihan's body trembled. As she looked at the gray figure in midair, an extremely complicated emotion flashed through her eyes, and she cried out in surprise. "Taihan, are you saying this is the Nine Nether Domain Lord, In Chengquan?" Han Li's heart tightened and he asked in a low voice. Before Taihan could answer, the gray figure abruptly turned its head and looked toward Han Li and the others. Han Li felt his vision suddenly darken. In his mind, a massive invisible force attacked through the air. The towering snow peak formed by the Imperial Peak spirit-suppressing talisman trembled violently before collapsing with a thunderous crash. He felt his soul shaking uncontrollably inside his mind. His head spun and he nearly fainted. The spirit refinement technique. Han Li was horrified. With a shout in his heart, he immediately activated the spirit refinement technique. The power of his spiritual sense surged through his mind, suppressing his trembling soul. Fortunately, his spirit refinement technique had just advanced greatly and had almost reached the peak of the 5th level. Waves of immense spiritual sense power wrapped layer after layer around his soul, doing their utmost to suppress it. At last he barely managed to stabilize himself. At the same time, crystalline light flashed before him. Chains of spiritual will emerged one after another, interweaving into a large net that resisted the invisible force. However, that invisible force was simply too powerful. Like raging waves, its strength traveled along the net of spiritual chains and transmitted directly into his mind. Han Li's mind trembled. He staggered backward several steps and could hardly keep his footing. On the other side, Shi Chuankong's body also shook violently. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, his face turning as pale as paper. He let out a low shout. Silver light flashed above his head, and a small silver lock appeared out of thin air. It released rings of dazzling silver light, protecting his head as his body flew backward. But the small silver lock trembled violently. With a crack, a fissure appeared on its body, and the silver light it emitted rapidly dimmed. Shi Chuankong's expression changed again. He opened his mouth and spat out a ball of blood essence, which flashed into the silver lock. At the same time, his hands moved like spinning wheels as he formed incantation gestures. The light from the silver lock brightened slightly, barely continuing to protect his head, but it flickered violently, looking as though it might go out at any moment. Among the three, Husan reacted the fastest. The instant Yin Qingquan's gaze turned toward them, his expression changed drastically. His body shot backward and his hands moved rapidly. One white talisman after another flew from his hands, flashing into layers of translucent white light screens that blocked the space before him. In the blink of an eye, he had thrown out dozens of talismans, forming dozens of layers of light. Yet the moment the white light screens took shape, they suffered a devastating blow. The dozens of layers shattered inch by inch at once. The corners of Husan's eyes twitched, but his hands did not stop. He continued waving them again and again. More white talismans flew from his hands, dozens more in an instant. White light screens appeared one after another before him, only to be shattered again by an invisible force. This time they broke even faster, as though swept away by raging waves. Dozens of layers exploded in an instant. Husan's face turned pale, and his retreating figure moved even faster. Of the four of them, only Taihan was not attacked. She stood to the side with a complicated expression. "Haha, Yin Chengquan, you finally sent this spiritual avatar over. But unfortunately, you are one step too late." At that moment, Ancestor Lu Qi's loud laughter rang out from the side. The sound rolled out like waves, nearly condensing into substance as it blocked Han Li and the other two. A deafening boom erupted. The void before Han Li and the others trembled violently. Spatial cracks appeared out of thin air and spread outward like a spiderweb. The entire great hall shook as if struck by an earthquake, and cracks appeared across the surrounding walls. The overwhelming pressure on Han Li and the others eased. They retreated several steps before barely stabilizing themselves, fear appearing in all their eyes. Crystal light blazed from between Ancestor Lu Qi's brows. It surged and flickered in the air, condensing into a middle-aged man wearing a gray-white brocade robe with a foxfur belt around his waist. The man stood before Han Li and the others with his hands clasped behind his back, exuding an imposing aura that seemed to look down upon heaven and earth. "In Changquan, if your true body had come here, I might still have feared you somewhat since I have not yet escaped. But you sent only a spiritual avatar and still want to injure people in front of me. Are you not overestimating yourself?" the middle-aged man said with a cold smile. In Qingquan's face darkened slightly. He did not immediately attack. Instead, his gaze shifted toward Taihun. "Lua, you are quite bold. You actually brought these people into the soul-cleansing district. Not only did you release the ancient Kunhu, now you have released Lu Qi as well. Do you know how much damage these acts have caused the Nine Nether clan?" In Changquan shouted coldly. "Master, your disciple has failed you. I only wanted to bring him to the baleful cleansing pool, to cleanse the baleful energy in his body. I never intended to harm the Nine Nether clan. He is the same. He only wanted to cleanse his baleful energy and had no intention of becoming enemies with the Nine Nether clan," Taihun said, her delicate body trembling. She glanced at Han Li, and a trace of shame flashed across her face. "You are Luor's former master? Humph, a mere golden immortal, yet your courage is not small. However, for Luor's sake, I can overlook the crime of your unauthorized intrusion into Azura City." "Leave," In Changquan said, turning his head to glance at Han Li. Then he suddenly formed an incantation gesture and waved his hand. The restrictions on the stone door of the great hall flashed. With a rumble, the door slowly opened. It seemed he truly intended to let Han Li leave. Seeing this, Han Li revealed a thoughtful look, as if somewhat tempted. "Fellow Taoist Li, he is trying to divide us. You must not fall for this old thief's scheme. The entire Azura City is already under lockdown. Even if you leave now, you will sooner or later be captured. Our only option now is to rescue Ancestor Lu Qi. Only by relying on his power do we have any real chance of escaping alive," Husan hurriedly said. Han Li glanced at Husan, his eyes flickering slightly. No one knew what he was thinking. "A scheme? You may think of it that way if you wish. You should be well aware of the current situation in Azura City. There is no surplus strength to hunt you down. In my eyes, what do a few golden immortals amount to? If you are still uneasy, I can even bestow upon you a 9 Nether token," In Changquan said indifferently. As he spoke, he raised one hand slightly and moved a finger. A streak of black light shot out and landed before Taihun. It was a pitch-black token forged from some unknown metal. Seeing this, Ancestor Lu Qi also frowned slightly. "Master, although the restrictions throughout Azura City appear scattered, they are actually all arranged around one super formation as their core. The 9 Nether token is a treasure refined from that super formation. The entire 9 Nether clan has only 5 of them. With this object, I am confident I can open more than half of the restrictions in Azura City," Taihun said to Han Li through voice transmission after catching the token. "I previously took part in damaging the restrictions at the Kunha's location, so I also bear some responsibility for the situation here. You tried to kill me just now, yet now your attitude has changed completely and you are willing to let me leave. Why?" Han Li narrowed his eyes and asked. "Humph, if this were an ordinary day, none of you would dream of leaving this place alive. But right now my only target is Lu Qi. The fact that you were able to withstand a spiritual sense strike from this strand of my divided soul means you do have some ability. I am sparing you to avoid unnecessary variables," In Changquan said coldly. "You speak frankly, which shows your sincerity. Unfortunately, I have already promised Senior Lu Qi that I would assist him. I can only decline your proposal," Han Li said with a faint smile. When Husan heard this, his expression loosened. Ancestor Lu Qi's brows also relaxed. Only Taihun looked deeply anxious. "Boy, you refused the toast only to drink the punishment wine. Since that is the case, stay here. Luor, you have seen it yourself. It is not that your master is cruel and ruthless. This man is seeking death on his own. Leave first so you will not be caught in the aftermath," In Changquan said coldly, waving both hands in an incantation gesture. The giant formation on the ground suddenly lit up. A surge of white light poured out, instantly wrapping around Taihun's body and carrying her toward the outside. Taihun's face was full of anxiety, and she seemed to be saying something. But the white light enveloping her was extremely powerful. It did not tremble in the slightest, and no sound came through. At that moment, a gray shadow flashed past and wrapped around Taihun's body like lightning. It was a foxtail. Seeing this, Yin Qingquan's expression changed drastically. His figure shot forward like lightning and appeared above Ancestor Lu Qi's head in a flash, striking down with a furious punch. As his fist flew out, gray light erupted from it. Within the gray radiance, a hideous ghost head the size of a house faintly appeared, letting out an extremely shrill cackling screech. The sound was piercing beyond measure, drilling into the soul. It released a dense aura of death, like the sinister laughter of a demon from hell. Anyone who heard it felt as though they were about to be dragged into the abyss of the underworld. When Han Li, Husan, and Shi Chuankong heard it, their souls trembled violently, almost showing signs of collapse. Ancestor Lu Qi, still on the ground, waved his two front claws. Streaks of gray-white light shot out and instantly transformed into an eggshell-like gray-white barrier, covering Han Li and the others along with the 4 thunder pools. Once the barrier appeared, the cackling screech immediately weakened greatly. At the same time, the middle-aged man's shadow flickered and appeared above the barrier, blocking Yin Qingquan's path. If you want to attack them, you will have to get through me first. The middle-aged man laughed. He formed an incantation gesture with both hands, and a surge of gray-white crystalline light flew from his body. It spun rapidly and transformed into a thick staff shadow more than 10 zhang long. 2 dragon-like, snake-like phantoms coiled around the 2 ends of the staff shadow. It released an extremely heavy fluctuation of soul power as it met Yin Qingquan's fist. A thunderous boom rang out. In midair, the staff shadow and the fist collided violently. Between them, blinding light erupted like a blazing sun. Tangible waves of spiritual sense burst outward, wildly twisting the nearby void before shattering it like a mirror. The gray-white barrier was also affected. It immediately trembled violently, crackling with explosive sounds and forming streams of pale mist that spread in all directions. However, the gray-white barrier seemed extremely resilient. It did not shatter and soon stabilized again. In midair, after the middle-aged man and Yin Changquan exchanged one blow, both of their bodies shook violently, and each was sent flying backward. Their exchange had happened as fast as lightning. Only now did Han Li and the other 2 finally react physically. They all let out muffled groans, blood trickling from the corners of their mouths. The 3 looked at one another, horror appearing in their eyes. Lu Qi, you actually attacked a junior. Do you not feel that this damages your dignity? Yin Changquan stabilized himself at once. Instead of attacking again, he shouted angrily, "Tisk tsk." Hearing such righteous words from Domain Lord Yin's mouth is truly rare. You and I have fought for countless years. We know each other's ways inside out. Do you really think I did not see through your intentions? Ancestor Lu Qi sneered from the ground. The foxtail wrapped around Taihun tightened slightly, and the white light around her shattered with a crack. The foxtail moved, carrying Taihun's body back to Ancestor Lu Qi's side. Taihun had originally been struggling with all her might, but when she heard those words, she slowly stopped. What do you mean by that? Yin Qingquan's pupils contracted almost imperceptibly. Little girl, your true body is a punishment beast, is it not? If I have not guessed wrong, after Yin Changquan accepted you as his disciple, he spared no effort in nurturing you. He even captured people of various races, hunted their souls, and fed them to you so you could devour them and raise your cultivation. Is that correct? Ancestor Lu Qi glanced at Yin Changquan, a trace of mockery flashing through his eyes, then asked Taihun. That is right. Master has shown me kindness as heavy as a mountain. Taihun glanced at Yin Changquan before replying. Then do you know why this master of yours doted on you so much, and why he spent such a great price to raise your cultivation? What kind of person Yin Changquan is? Surely you are not completely unaware. Ancestor Lu Qi ignored her words and continued. Taihun's face grew faintly pale. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Over the years she had sensed these doubts many times. But Enqua had treated her extremely well, and she had been unwilling to suspect him. Every time her thoughts brushed against the edge of this question, she immediately avoided it. Now that Ancestor Lu Qi had asked her directly, she could no longer evade it. Hearing this, Han Li's heart moved slightly. In fact, before coming here, he had already heard that Enqua, the number 1 Dao ancestor who ruled the 9 nether domain, was bloodthirsty by nature and skilled in all manner of treacherous methods to force the other small and medium domains into submission. Because of this, even the great encompassment cultivators within his own clan both respected and feared him. No matter how one looked at it, he did not seem like a benevolent teacher who would accept someone from another race as a disciple and carefully nurture them. The situation back then had been urgent. Although Han Li had harbored doubts, he had not thought too deeply about it. Now it seemed, in midair, Yin Chengquan's expression was indifferent, but an icy light shone in his eyes. You all likely know that the 9 Nether clan can use nether soulworms to control others. I must admit, this divine ability of the 9 Nether clan is exceptionally powerful. Not only can it control puppets, but through the nether soulworm, it can create a mysterious connection between the master and the controlled puppet. If the laws controlled by the master and the puppet are similar, it becomes even easier to achieve a fusion of laws. This is one of the important reasons the 9 Nether clan has been able to stand firmly among the 3 great overlords of the Grey Realm, Ancestor Lu Qi said with a laugh, then suddenly changed the topic and began speaking of something else. Senior Lu Qi, what does this have to do with Taihun? Han Li vaguely sensed something but could not be certain, so he asked. Back then, due to an accident, I was severely injured and ended up stranded in the Grey Realm. Enqua captured me and imprisoned me here. The reason he did not kill me was precisely because he had taken an interest in the heavenly illusion law I control. He cultivates the ghostly law. If he could successfully refine me into a nether soul puppet, then by fusing and using our laws together, his power would surely multiply. At that time, I am afraid no one in the entire Grey Realm would be his match, Ancestor Lu Qi said with a cold smile, continuing at an unhurried pace. When Taihun heard this, she seemed to remember something, and her face turned white. But to control me, who am also at the Dao Ancestor realm, Enqua would need an extremely high-level nether soulworm. Ordinary souls cannot be refined into one. That is why Enqua spared no cost to nurture you. A punishment beast is an extremely high-level soul body with the innate ability to absorb souls and devour ghosts. It is perfectly suited for refining a top-grade nether soulworm. However, your current cultivation is still too low. He likely planned to raise you to the great encompassment realm before refining you, to ensure absolute success, Ancestor Lu Qi said slowly. When Taihun heard these words, her face became deathly pale. Seeing her expression, Han Li sighed inwardly. He too had once experienced being schemed against by someone he respected. Although many years had passed, that incident had deeply influenced his entire cultivation path afterward. Master, is what he said true? Taihun slowly raised her head, looking up at Enqua in midair as she asked. He Luor. I have truly enjoyed this game of a benevolent master and filial disciple. I originally intended to continue it for a while longer, but since you already know, let it end here, Enqua said. His expression had already returned to calm. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, but it gave off a chilling feeling. Taihun's delicate body trembled, and the last trace of color vanished from her face. Han Li looked at Enqua, his eyes narrowing slightly as a cold light flashed in them. Lu Qi, you just said that you and I have fought for countless years, and that it is difficult for either of us to hide our thoughts from the other. Yet that statement is not entirely correct. For instance, can you guess why I calmly listened to you finish saying all of this? Enqua turned to Ancestor Lu Qi, his smile unchanged. Ancestor Lu Qi froze, then suddenly looked toward Taihun in front of him, as if realizing something. At that moment a sudden change occurred. With a soft puff, the 9 nether token in Taihun's hand abruptly flashed and exploded, transforming into 2 streams of black energy. One stream of black energy spun and condensed into a blurry worm shadow. Its body arched and contracted, then vanished into Taihun's body without a trace. The other stream of black energy transformed into a black dagger. With a sharp whoosh, it shot out, becoming a string of afterimages as it stabbed with incredible speed toward Ancestor Lu Qi's chest at close range. Ancestor Lu Qi was startled. However, his body was still bound to the cross, so he could not dodge. He only had time to raise one freed front claw, gray light flickering over his 5 fingers as he slapped fiercely at the black dagger. But at that moment, the black dagger suddenly twisted like an incomparably agile black snake. With a slippery turn, it drilled through the gaps between the fox claw's fingers and stabbed into Ancestor Lu Qi's chest, sinking in instantly. Bang! Ancestor Lu Qi's chest suddenly exploded. Blood splattered in all directions with the blast, and a bloody hole that nearly pierced through his body appeared in his chest. Ancestor Lu Qi spat out a large mouthful of blood mixed with fragments of internal organs. In midair, the brocade-robed middle-aged man trembled, and his figure became much thinner. All of this happened in the time it took for sparks to fly from flint. The gray-white barrier covering Han Li and the others flickered violently, and the light it emitted suddenly dimmed several times over. The foxtail that had been wrapped around Taihun also loosened at once. Taihun fell to the ground with a thud, abruptly clutching her head with both hands as she let out a shrill scream. Black light surged over her body. Through the black radiance, one could faintly see a blurry worm shadow wriggling inside her abdomen, rapidly devouring the vital energy within her. Han Li, Husan, and the others were stunned by the series of changes before them, but they immediately reacted. Ancestor! Husan flew to Ancestor Lu Qi's side. Han Li also hurriedly swept to Taihun's side, supporting her body as he released his spiritual sense to scan inside her. His expression sank. How does the immortal devouring dagger taste? Yin Chengquan chuckled. He abruptly raised his hand and chopped down with a palm. A giant gray palm appeared. Wisps of mist-like gray light coiled around it as it grabbed down at the middle-aged man's head. Terrifying soul fluctuations radiated from the giant gray palm. Even though Han Li and the others were inside the gray-white barrier, their eyes rolled back, and they fainted to the ground. Light flickered in the middle-aged man's eyes, and he threw out a punch as well. Dazzling gray-white light flashed. A gray-white wave of light shot out, condensed in a rolling surge, and transformed into a white pillar of light that resisted the giant gray palm. A thunderous boom rang out, and the void trembled violently. The white pillar was clearly at a disadvantage. The instant the two collided, it began collapsing inch by inch. The giant gray palm swept forward like lightning, grabbed the middle-aged man and clenched hard. With a muffled bang, the middle-aged man's body exploded directly. Yet instead of showing joy, Yin Chengquan's expression darkened. His gaze swept around him. He suddenly gave a low shout, gray light blazing from his body as both hands grabbed at the void. Gray light flashed around him, and 4 giant gray palms identical to the earlier one appeared, sweeping out in all directions. With a tearing sound, cracks suddenly appeared in the void around him before shattering violently. After the void shattered, the surrounding scene changed greatly. The middle-aged man was standing perfectly fine not far away, seemingly just about to approach. Below, inside the gray-white barrier, Ancestor Lu Qi, Taihun, Han Li, and the others were all completely unharmed. In front of Ancestor Lu Qi hovered a gray-white ball of light, continuously releasing rings of gray-white light waves in all directions. A black dagger and a black worm shadow were sealed inside it. Both darted wildly about, but they could not break free. Seeing this, Yin Chengquan's face instantly turned ashen. As expected of Domain Lord Yin, you broke free from my dream of the southern bow so quickly. Ancestor Lu Qi opened his mouth and inhaled, swallowing the white ball of light before giving a mocking chuckle. Yin Chengquan's face darkened so much it seemed water might drip from it. Hearing this, he flew into a rage and suddenly reached downward with one hand, grabbing at the void. A rumbling roar erupted. The 4 giant gray palms all seized downward. A monstrous aura of soul power surged down, nearly twice as strong as the previous giant palm. Before the 4 palms even descended, the gray-white barrier buzzed and trembled, nearly shattering. On the ground, Ancestor Lu Qi's expression grew serious. He rubbed his 2 front claws together, then raised them. Countless incantation seals shot out like a storm. Half of them entered the gray-white barrier, causing it to solidify and stabilize. The other half flew out and merged into the middle-aged man's body in midair. The middle-aged man's body suddenly brightened. It spun rapidly and transformed into a gray-white giant fox phantom several dozen zhang tall. Its 9 fox tails swept out, producing a wave of gray-white light that collided violently with the 4 giant gray palms, giving off muffled thunder-like explosions. The gray-white wave of light collapsed like paper. The giant gray-white fox was also sent flying, slamming heavily into the wall of the great hall with a bang, where it was stopped by the restrictions on the wall. However, the 4 giant gray palms were also knocked back. Enqua has flown into embarrassed rage and is using his full strength. I will not be able to hold out for long. Hurry and cleanse the baleful energy in your bodies, then help me sever the remaining chains. Ancestor Lu Qi said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Han Li Shichuan Kong and Husan immediately nodded and flew toward the purple thunder pool. Taihun, however, did not move. Her expression had returned to calm, and she looked up at Enqua in midair, cold light flashing in her eyes. In midair, the gray-white giant fox had already leapt up from the wall. It seemed uninjured. Its body lunged forward, and it began battling Enqua. Senior Lu Qi, allow me to lend a hand in this battle, Taihun suddenly said in a low voice. Little girl, although your strength is not bad, it is far too early for you to participate in a battle between Dao ancestors, Ancestor Lu Qi said, glancing at her. I naturally would not be arrogant enough to think I can participate directly in a battle between Dao ancestors. But as Senior said, my true body is a punishment beast. I possess a secret technique that uses my own soul power as a foundation to amplify another person's soul power. Although the effect weakens the greater the difference in cultivation, it should still be somewhat useful, Taihun said. Very well. But do not leave this barrier by even half a step. Otherwise, I will not be able to protect you, Ancestor Lu Qi said, surprise flashing through his eyes before he nodded. Taihun naturally nodded in agreement and began chanting. 4 clusters of black crystalline light flew from above her head and landed around Ancestor Lu Qi's body. The 4 clusters of light rolled rapidly and quickly transformed into an ancient zither, a waist drum, a jade flute, and a Kongho harp. Taihun waved both hands. Strands of crystalline light flew from between her brows, turning into incantation seals that fell onto the 4 instruments. The 4 instruments immediately began playing a melody. Black ripples appeared in the nearby void, filled with countless musical notes the size of grains of rice. They merged into Ancestor Lu Qi's mind, and his eyes brightened slightly. In midair, Enqua attacked in anger with overwhelming momentum, continuously forcing the gray-white giant fox backward. Before long, he had driven it into a corner of the great hall. Die! Cold light flashed in his eyes. With a wave of both hands, vast gray mist surged out of his body. The gray mist was actually formed from strands of crystalline spiritual will, and it merged into the 4 giant gray palms. The 4 palms suddenly expanded several sizes. Mysterious patterns appeared across them as they slammed down. Each palm radiated soul fluctuations like roaring mountains and crashing seas. Wherever they passed, the void seemed to freeze under the incomparably powerful spiritual pressure, instantly sealing off every path of retreat. You want to kill me? It will not be that easy. The gray-white giant fox suddenly spoke in human language. The light on its body blazed, as though it had suddenly received assistance from some power. Its 9 tails swept out. Gray-white waves of light appeared again. But this time the gray waves layered endlessly upon one another, giving the impression of being without limit, like an ocean of light surging forward in raging tides. The 4 giant palms struck the gray-white waves. Their powerful soul attacks seemed to have landed in the sea and were instantly swallowed clean. Yin Chengxuan's expression changed in shock. He then noticed what was happening inside the gray-white barrier and instantly flew into a rage. Enqua, you truly failed to recognize what was right before your eyes. Today, let us settle our accounts properly. The gray-white giant fox laughed loudly. The 9 tails behind it suddenly straightened, and every strand of fox fur on them burst with dazzling light. Go! At the giant fox's command, countless fox hairs shot out together like bolts fired from powerful crossbows, striking the 4 giant gray palms. Tiny needle-like holes were pierced all across the gray palms, densely covering every part of them. Then with a muffled explosion, the palms all burst apart. The remaining fox hairs continued shooting forward like rain, attacking Yin Chengquan. Yin Chengquan's expression changed slightly, and his body immediately shot backward. The gray-white giant fox twisted its body and transformed into a massive phantom, chasing after him at high speed. The two began fighting fiercely again, and for a time neither side gained the upper hand. Their figures moved faster and faster until they became two intertwined shadows. Only dense waves of explosions could be heard. At the same time, beneath the gray-white barrier, Han Li and the other two flashed forward and landed beside the purple thunder pool. Ancestor Lu Qi had already cast a spell to weaken the lightning power inside the purple thunder pool. Even so, streaks of purple lightning churned within the pool, giving off terrifying sizzling sounds. Just from its aura, it was several times stronger than the earlier green lightning. Han Li's eyes flashed. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately flew into the purple thunder pool. With a splash, purple water sprayed in all directions, scattering like beads. Shi Chuankong also did not hesitate and flew straight into the purple thunder pool. Husan looked at the purple thunder pool before him and hesitated slightly, but he did not enter. He had already advanced to the Tai realm, and this was not why he had come here. After being cleansed by the green thunder pool, most of the baleful energy in his body had already been washed away. Although some residue remained, it would still provide considerable benefit for his future cultivation. There was no need to risk entering another thunder pool. It would be better for him to properly conserve and recover his strength, so that he could later join Han Li and the others in helping Ancestor Lu Qi sever the remaining lightning chains. With this thought, Husan sat down cross-legged beside the thunder pool, took out 2 Immortal Essence Stones, and held them in his hands, drawing from them to restore the immortal spiritual power in his body. The moment Han Li entered the purple lightning pool, the purple arcs inside seemed like sharks smelling blood. They surged toward him in rolling waves and formed a spiraling pillar of lightning around his body. For a time, thunderous roars filled the air. Thick purple arcs shot out one after another, lashing across his entire body and exploding with a series of frightening cracks. The skin on Han Li's body instantly turned blood red. Wounds were torn open everywhere, and blood gushed out in a horrifying sight. That was not all. The moment the purple lightning touched his body, the space between his brows suddenly turned pitch black. His mind was instantly thrown into chaos, and waves of murderous intent rose inside him. His eyes also turned crimson in an instant. Powerful fluctuations of baleful qi erupted from his body. The baleful decay he had just forcibly suppressed had actually erupted again. When Husan saw Han Li's miserable state, a trace of lingering fear flashed through his eyes. He grimaced slightly, secretly rejoicing that he had not gone down himself. In the distance, Crying Soul, who was casting a spell, also looked toward Han Li, worry flashing in her eyes. At that moment, lights of various colors flickered over Han Li's body. Phantoms of true spirits such as a giant mountain ape, a 5-colored phoenix, and a 5-colored peacock appeared once again, noticeably clearer than before. This lightning pool contained both destructive power and the force of rebirth. After being tempered by the cyan lightning pool, the various true spirit bloodlines in his body had faintly strengthened. However, the strengthening of these true spirit bloodlines was not necessarily good for Han Li. Different foreign bloodlines surged violently inside him, increasing the burden on his physical body. Han Li took a deep breath, yet there was no trace of panic on his face. After experiencing the cyan lightning pool, he already had some experience dealing with the various conditions inside his body. Once he steadied his mind, he immediately activated the spirit refinement technique. Vast waves of spiritual sense flowed out, resisting the murderous intent in his mind and firmly guarding his consciousness. At the same time, he circulated the great circulatory stellar origin art to protect vital areas such as his internal organs, allowing the purple lightning power to rampage through the rest of his body. Wave after wave of violent lightning force invaded his body. While it eroded his flesh, it also once again dispersed the baleful qi inside him. Gradually, streams of black qi began rising from the surface of his body. The moment they left his body, they vanished amid the vast lightning. The immortal apertures throughout his body were now filled with purple electric light as well, and the stubborn baleful qi entrenched inside them began seeping out bit by bit. As the baleful chi inside Han Li was washed away, the murderous intent in his mind gradually faded, and his eyes slowly regained clarity. This process was clearly far more painful than the cyan lightning pool before, but he clenched his teeth tightly and endured wave after wave of heart-rending pain inside his body. Time passed little by little. In the blink of an eye, the time it took for an incense stick to burn had gone by. By now there was almost no intact skin left on Han Li's body. Large and small wounds covered him from head to toe, making him look like a torn sack. Even so, his eyes remained tightly shut, and his expression was calm, as if he could not feel anything at all. Great masses of black baleful chi were still continuously pouring out from all over his body. Suddenly, the baleful chi surging out of him came to a halt, then began to slow. Han Li frowned slightly and opened his eyes. Then his body shot upward as he flew toward the surface. With a sharp crackle, the surrounding purple lightning immediately chased after him, forming a purple electric net that came down over his body. Han Li let out a cold snort. The true mantra wheel inside him spun rapidly, and he once again used the ability to reverse its rotation, transforming into a golden blur that shot toward the sky. However, the surrounding purple electric net was exceptionally tough, far stronger than the one in the cyan lightning pool. Even with that charge, he was unable to break through. The purple lightning pool seemed to sense that it had been provoked. It suddenly flared with light, and the pool water near Han Li burst apart. 7 or 8 purple arcs as thick as bowls shot up from the bottom of the pool. These purple arcs were completely different from the other lightning in the pool. They gave off a crystalline, dazzling feeling, and countless rice-sized lightning runes flickered around them. They radiated an astonishing power of lightning law, like 7 or 8 purple electric snakes biting toward Han Li's body. Han Li's heart tightened. Golden light burst from his body, and the true mantra wheel appeared behind him, spinning rapidly. Countless golden ripples surged outward, instantly covering an area of more than 10 zhang around him. The purple arcs were enveloped by the golden ripples and immediately froze in place. However, the power contained within these purple arcs was incredibly strong, causing the entire region of golden ripples to tremble lightly. Seeing this, Han Li immediately raised his hand and waved. A ball of emerald green light flew out from his sleeve and stopped in midair above his head, spinning rapidly. It was the Xiantian gourd. He formed a hand seal with both hands and pointed. Emerald green light surged around the Xiantian gourd, and a vast expanse of green radiance swept out, instantly wrapping around those purple arcs. Once the purple arcs were enveloped by the green light, they dimmed rapidly and shrank at great speed. Take them. Han Li changed the hand seal again. The green radiance wrapped around the purple arcs and rolled backward, disappearing into the Xiantian gourd in a flash. Part of the purple electric net around him was also taken in by the Xiantian gourd. His body immediately lightened, and with a whoosh, he shot upward, broke free from the purple electric net, and landed near the lightning pool. Han Li waved his hand and drew the true mantra wheel back into his body. The golden ripples around him disappeared as well. The purple electric net flickered a few times. Finding nothing left to bind, it let out several thunderous roars before slowly sinking back into the lightning pool. After escaping, Han Li immediately flipped his hand and took out several recovery pills, swallowing them. As streams of clear energy flowed through his body, countless tiny sprouts of flesh grew wildly from his wounds. The large and small injuries quickly closed, and his complexion improved slightly. Fellow Taoist Li, how are you? Right now, with fellow Taoist Crying Soul's help, the ancestor can still hold on, but this is by no means a long-term solution. Once others arrive here, we will all die without question. Only by cutting the remaining 3 lightning chains and helping him escape can we ensure everything goes smoothly, Husan hurriedly transmitted. Fine. Once fellow Taoist sure comes out, I will recover a little first, Han Li replied with a nod, looking toward the purple lightning pool. At that moment, Shi Chuankong was still soaking in the purple lightning water. Lightning coiled around him, and deep wounds had split open across his skin. In some places even white bone could be seen. Bloody light flickered in his eyes, and the space between his brows was pitch black. The baleful decay he had delayed for many years with secret arts had likewise erupted again. Although his face was filled with pain and his entire body trembled without stop, His temperament was indeed tenacious. He clenched his teeth tightly and endured the assault of the purple lightning on both his body and sea of consciousness. As streams of black chi surged out from all over his body and quickly dissipated, the bloody light in his eyes gradually faded. The darkness between his brows also began to disappear, and a faint crystalline glow appeared over his skin, making it look almost jade-like. Han Li's brows moved slightly. He knew that the baleful chi inside Shi Chuankong was nowhere near as dense as his own. The purple lightning pool had already driven out most of the baleful chi from his body. If this continued, Shi Chuankong might very well pass through his baleful decay and become a half-step Tai cultivator. But just then the black chi emerging from Shi Chuankong's body also began to weaken. The crystalline glow on his skin flickered faintly, then quickly vanished. Seeing this, Han Li sighed inwardly. It seemed that, just like him, this second pool could not completely help Shi Chuankong overcome his baleful decay. Shi Chuankong suddenly opened his eyes and shot up from the lightning pool. Amid rumbling thunder, the surrounding purple arcs immediately chased after him, forming a purple electric net. Shi Chuankong's expression tightened. Silver light blazed over his body, then condensed around him into a huge silver lotus that spun rapidly. Silver radiance surged from the lotus petals like sharp sword chi, slashing into the purple electric net. With a series of crisp snapping sounds, the purple electric net trembled again and again before a gap was cut open. Seeing this, Shi Chuankong twisted his body sharply and shot straight through the opening, landing at the edge of the lightning pool. His body was already badly damaged, and now that he had used a secret art, his injuries were aggravated further. He let out a muffled groan and spat out a mouthful of blood. Shi Chuankong had no time to say anything to Han Li and Hu San. He immediately took out a medicine bottle and poured every pill inside into his mouth, regardless of how many there were. Then he sat down cross-legged at once. A layer of purple-black light appeared over his body, and his wounds rapidly healed. That was close. What a pity I was just a little short, Shi Chuankong said after a while, letting out a long breath and looking up at Han Li and Hu San with a bitter smile. To withstand the cleansing of 2 cleansing pools is already no easy feat. Fortunately, I do not need to suffer through that. Are you all right now? Hu San asked, shaking his head. I'm fine now, Shi Chuankong replied, turning to look at Han Li. Both of you prepare to begin. As Han Li spoke, his figure blurred, and he flew to the side of the silver lightning pool. With a wave of one hand, golden lightning flashed beside him, and the figure of Daoist Xie appeared. Fellow Daoist Xie, lend me a hand, Han Li said. Daoist Xie nodded and agreed. Han Li took a deep breath. Both hands tightly gripped the heavenly fox blood-transmuting saber, and golden light blazed from his body. Immortal spiritual power surged wildly from within him, and poured into the long saber. Red light flickered over the blade, and all the patterns on it began to glow. A dense blood-baleful aura spread from the saber. Hu San, Shi Chuankong, and Daoist Xie raised their palms at the same time and pushed through the air. Immortal spiritual power also surged out from their bodies and poured into Han Li. The immortal spiritual power of the 4 merged into one and flowed into the heavenly fox blood-transmuting saber. A buzzing sound rang out. The heavenly fox blood-transmuting saber shone brightly and trembled violently, its aura rising layer by layer. Layers of blood-red saber shadows appeared, overlapping so densely that they seemed to number in the tens of millions. Senior Shi, lend me your strength. Han Li's eyes narrowed, and he shouted inwardly through voice transmission. Then he brought the saber down. The fox head on the heavenly fox blood-transmuting saber lit up, and a huge blood-colored fox phantom suddenly appeared. It pounced downward and merged into the blade. The immortal spiritual power inside Han Li and the others surged out like a breached flood, swallowed by the heavenly fox blood-transmuting saber. Since they had already experienced this once before, none of them were surprised. The countless blood-colored saber shadows nearby gathered like swallows returning to their nest, all merging into the blade. The heavenly fox blood-transmuting saber suddenly expanded to twice its size and turned crystalline before slashing down on the purple chain. The purple chain shook violently. The runes engraved on it erupted with purple light, as if a blazing sun had exploded. With a thunderous roar, the purple lightning pool immediately boiled over. All the lightning surged upward and transformed into an enormous spherical mass of electric light, rushing along the chain toward Ancestor Lu Qi. However, the spherical electric light had only made it halfway when the purple chain gave off a tremendous boom. Blood-colored saber light flashed, and the purple chain snapped apart. The spherical electric light stopped abruptly, then burst open, scattering in all directions. Han Li's body trembled. Light flashed over his skin, and a layer of purple lightning radiance appeared over him. However, the purple glow only flashed once before immediately sinking away, as if nothing had happened. His body also recovered. His brows rose slightly, and a thoughtful look appeared in his eyes. With a heavy crash, the broken purple chain fell and sank into the lightning pool. Well done! A look of great joy appeared on Ancestor Lu Qi's face. He raised his head and let out a long howl, gray-white light blazing from his body. An overbearing aura that seemed capable of dominating heaven and earth radiated from him, causing the entire giant hall to rumble and tremble. Humph! Yin Chengquan's split soul swept a fierce glance over Han Li and the others, his expression darkening. He raised both hands and struck out through the air. After a dull boom, four enormous gray palms appeared above the head of the gray-white giant fox phantom at the same time. Gray light rippled over the surfaces of the four giant palms. They unexpectedly merged into one, transforming into a massive palm several hundred zhang wide that descended like a giant mountain. Haha! Yin Chengquan, now that I have undone the second seal, you still think you can suppress me? Ancestor Lu Qi laughed loudly. His massive body moved, dragging the silver and golden chains on him with loud rattles as he actually stood up. Crystalline light blazed from the space between his brows. The gray-white giant fox in midair suddenly grew even larger. It stood upright like a human, and as brilliant light shone from its two front claws, they suddenly expanded several times in size before striking upward with tremendous force. An earth-shattering boom rang out. The gray giant palm exploded. Yin Chengquan's body shook violently, and he staggered several steps back before barely stabilizing himself. The gray-white giant fox was also slapped down from midair and began falling, the gray light over its body looking somewhat unstable. But it swayed from side to side and immediately steadied itself, then pounced toward Yin Chengquan, who had yet to regain his footing. At the assembly venue in the Lakefall district, the various domain lords once again began voicing their opinions. The venue returned to its previous liveliness. Yin Chengquan sat there with a smile, occasionally interacting and conversing with the domain lords beside him. He had once again returned to his earlier appearance of having everything under control, which left Huang Fuyu, who had been secretly observing him, somewhat disappointed. Just then Jiao San, who stood behind Huang Fuyu, suddenly had a flicker in her eyes. Palace Master Huang Fu, our people have discovered some information. Something has indeed happened in the soul cleansing district, but it is not an accident in the treasure refining workshop as Yin Chengquan claimed. Instead, someone seems to have infiltrated the depths of Azura City and caused quite a disturbance. The city's defensive forces are now beginning to gather there. Jiao San's voice rang in Huang Fuyu's mind. Oh? Someone actually infiltrated Azura City at a time like this, Huang Fuyu said, his brows twitching slightly. Palace Master, the situation has changed. Should we have our people continue investigating? Jiao San asked through voice transmission. Have them continue investigating. At the same time, create some disturbances as well, but be careful not to let the Nine Nether region discover them. Huang Fuyu replied at once, his gaze narrowing slightly. Palace Master Huang Fu, you mean to? I understand. Jiao San's beautiful eyes lit up, and she immediately agreed. Yin Chengquan was quietly discussing something with a domain lord beside him. His gaze swept toward Huang Fuyu, and a strange look flashed deep in his eyes. Just then his finger tightened again. The purple horizontal mark on it flickered faintly, then quickly dimmed and turned gray. The smile on Yin Chengquan's face immediately froze. Back in the forbidden area, Han Li's face was somewhat pale. He flipped his hand and put away the heavenly fox blood transmuting saber, then took out a pill to restore immortal spiritual power and swallowed it. Only then did his complexion improve slightly. Husan and Shi Chuankong also immediately took out pills and swallowed them to recover their depleted immortal spiritual power. Dao Xie's body was now extremely dim, and his aura had fallen drastically. He operated his internal structure using Immortal Origin Stones. When he had just helped activate the Heavenly Fox blood transmuting saber, the Immortal Origin Stones inside Daoist Xia had been drained dry in an instant. Now, even moving was somewhat difficult for him. Hanli glanced at Daoist Xia, raised his hand, and released a stream of green light, taking him into the flower branch space. He had prepared plenty of Immortal Origin Stones in the flower branch space, so Daoist Xia could replenish himself there. Husan looked up and saw the gray-white giant fox forcing Yin Chengquan back again and again. Joy appeared on his face. He then cupped his hands toward Han Li and Shi Chuankong. Fellow Daoist Li, Brother Shi, after you rest briefly, we should press forward in one breath and sever the remaining 2 chains. Once the ancestor is completely free, he can protect you while you enter the 3rd lightning pool. Then there will be nothing to worry about. No, Han Li said, shaking his head. Why? The situation is grave. Even if we ignore Yin Qingquan's split soul for now, outside enemies may arrive at any moment. Besides, without the ancestor's protection, how could you possibly enter the 3rd lightning pool? Husan frowned, seeming somewhat displeased. Fellow Taoist Husan, you misunderstand. These Thunder AO chains are not ordinary restrictions. Senior Lu Qi already mentioned the matter of backlash earlier. Since neither of you directly touched the Thunder AO chains, you did not feel it. Every time one of these chains is severed, the restrictive power contained within counterattacks, and both Senior Lu Qi and I, the one holding the blade, are affected. This lightning restriction power is extremely terrifying. I am not being timid or afraid of death. If one has not first been cleansed in the corresponding lightning pool, and allowed the body to contain a trace of that pool's source aura, it is impossible to withstand the backlash. Senior Lu Qi must have known this long ago, which is why he had us cleanse our baleful qi first before severing the chains. As Han Li spoke, he raised his hand, and a layer of purple light appeared over his body again. So that is how it is. But right now, I'm afraid the ancestor has no way to protect you. How will you endure the remaining 2 lightning pools? Husan suddenly understood, but then he thought of something else and spoke hesitantly. Fellow Taoist Husan said it himself earlier. The situation is grave, and our lives may be in danger at any moment. If I do not risk everything now, there may not even be a chance to risk anything later. My fate can only be held in my own hands. As Han Li spoke, his figure blurred, and he flew to the side of the silver lightning pool, gazing into it. Inside the lightning pool, silver arcs like spirit snakes leapt and flickered. These arcs were much thinner than the lightning in the cyan and purple pools. As they intertwined, they gave off a sound like thousands of birds chirping at once, making one's heart tremble. After taking a deep breath, he gritted his teeth and leapt into the silver lightning pool. Silver lightning immediately swarmed toward him, wrapping around his body in an instant. The silver arc struck him and easily tore open long, deep wounds across his body. Every silver arc was like a flying sword made of lightning. Han Li could not help letting out a muffled groan, and a trace of shock flashed in his eyes. This silver lightning was several times more powerful than the purple lightning. Before the silver arcs, his incredibly tough body was almost useless. In the blink of an eye, his body became ragged and broken, so badly injured that even white bone could be seen. The silver lightning also invaded his body, rushing through him like raging waves. Wherever it passed, his meridians, flesh, and blood were torn apart. Blood sprayed from all over his body, as if he were being hacked to pieces by 1,000 blades. At the same time, strange lights of various colors flickered over him. The true spirit phantoms appeared once more, even clearer than before, circling around his body without pause. The muscles on Han Li's body involuntarily swelled, manifesting various true spirit forms. Several true spirit bloodlines inside him surged wildly, as if they were about to break out of his body, worsening his injuries further. An anxious look appeared in his eyes. If this continued, even his body would struggle to endure it. But if he wanted to use the power of the lightning pool to cleanse his baleful qi, he could not resist the lightning power. Han Li gritted his teeth and once again circulated the great circulatory stellar origin art, protecting only his internal organs while allowing the silver arcs to roam throughout the rest of his body. His baleful decay was triggered again at that moment. Threads of bloody light appeared in his eyes, and the spiritual sense power in his mind churned once more. However, at this point, the influence of the baleful decay was no longer the main concern. The most important thing was whether his body could hold out. The silver arcs ravaged his body. At the same time, they seemed to possess spirituality, drilling into the immortal apertures that had been contaminated by baleful qi. Han Li's body trembled. Thick streams of black qi appeared over his skin once more and surged out like an angry tide. This time, the release of baleful qi was extraordinary. It was much faster than in the previous 2 lightning pools. The baleful qi inside his body and immortal apertures rapidly decreased at a visible speed. As the baleful qi flowed out, a sense of relief rose from deep within him, as if he were gradually being freed from a 10,000 gene burden. A thought stirred in Han Li's mind. He flipped his hand and silver light flashed in his palm. A silver pill appeared, covered in silver patterns that faintly formed the image of a 3-legged golden crow. It was his last Tai pill. He tilted his head back, swallowed the pill, and immediately closed his eyes. Shi Chuankong looked at the repeated strange phenomena in the silver lightning pool, and his brows unconsciously furrowed. Brother Shi, are you also planning to risk your life? Fellow Taoist Li has no other choice, but you can wait until the ancestor escapes before trying, Hu San asked, raising his brows. That may be true, but the situation is changing by the moment. Whether I will still have the chance later is another matter entirely. We went through so many dangers to arrive here. If I do not gamble everything on this attempt, how could I accept it? Shi Chuankong said with a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. You. Just as Hu San was about to persuade him further, a flash of black light suddenly appeared somewhere near the edge of the giant hall. A light formation abruptly emerged from thin air. Then, as gray light blazed from the formation, a figure appeared above it. Sensing this person's aura, Hu San's expression immediately changed, and the words he was about to say stopped. Enqua. Shi Chuankong also turned around, his face full of shock and suspicion. The newcomer had a pale face, a sinister expression, and an appearance with a somewhat feminine air. It was none other than Enqua, the Daluo Grey Immortal who had caused them great suffering earlier in the 100 Storage District. As soon as Enqua appeared, his gaze swept over Shi Chuankong and Hu San. Then his expression abruptly changed as he looked toward the air. There, Chengchuan's split soul and the gray-white giant fox had just collided violently before separating. They faced each other in midair several hundred zhang apart. On the giant cross at the center of the 4 lightning pools below, Ancestor Lu Qi raised his eyes and glanced at the arriving Enqua, then looked at Chengchuan's split soul in the air and sneered. Domain Lord Yu, what is this? A trace of fear flashed in Enqua's eyes as he spoke hesitantly. Elder Enqua, why have you come here? Do you not know what kind of place this is? Chengchuan's split soul said slowly, his gaze darkening. Reporting to the Domain Lord, Yu Luo betrayed our 9 Nether clan. She released these outsiders from the Nether prison without authorization, and even brought them into the forbidden area to free Kunhu. This subordinate had no choice but to pursue them into the clan's sacred ground without permission. I asked the Domain Lord to punish me. Enqua hurriedly bowed and said, his voice trembling slightly. Chengchuan's split soul looked down at Enqua. A sharp light flashed through his eyes, then his expression calmed as he spoke. Special circumstances require special measures. Although you trespassed into the clan's sacred ground for the sake of our clan's interests, you still violated our ancestral laws and clan rules. Kill all these insects immediately, and I will regard your merits and faults as offsetting each other. You will not be punished. Many thanks for the Domain Lord's generosity. Enqua was overjoyed when he heard this and quickly replied. As expected of an overlord of a region. Even your lies sound more convincing than those of others. Before this, I have seen 3 people who entered this place without your permission. One I remember clearly was called Duo, I believe. He was also a Daluo Grey Immortal, wasn't he? And yet, didn't you drain his cultivation and throw him into the lightning pool all the same? Ancestor Lu Qi suddenly chuckled. Enqua's expression changed slightly when he heard this. Back then, Elder Duo's disappearance had been extremely suspicious, and there had never been a definite explanation. The clan had believed he was surrounded and killed by people from the reincarnation region while traveling outside. And because of that matter, they had clashed with the reincarnation region many times. As the domain lord, Enqua had not seemed to care much about it. Now that he heard this claim and thought back to some absurd rumors from the past, Enqua could not help feeling shaken. You old fox, you are best at bewitching people. Stop trying to sow discord here. As the domain lord of the 9 Nether region, my word naturally carries the weight of 9 cauldrons. How could I go back on my promises? Enqua's split soul snapped angrily, his eyes widening. Domain lord, rest assured. This subordinate will wipe out these lowly insects completely. Enqua's gaze hardened, and he cupped his hands toward Enqua's split soul. Enqua said no more. After nodding, he turned to Ancestor Lu Qi and said, "Old fox, stretch out your neck and accept death." With that, his figure flashed, and he charged once more toward the enormous 9-tailed heavenly fox. This time, I will extract your souls and refine your spirits, so you can learn what it means to never reincarnate for all eternity. Enqua turned toward Shirchuankong and Husan, his expression especially dark as he spoke through gritted teeth in a hoarse voice. Shirchuankong glanced back at Han Li, who was undergoing cleansing in the silver lightning pool, then turned back with an ashen face. "Fellow Taoist, sure, we are in serious trouble," Husan said with a bitter smile. "Why are you saying such discouraging words? Use whatever trump cards you still have. Although this man is a Daoyuo Grey Immortal, his aura seems unstable. If we can hold out until Ancestor Lu Qi finishes things on his side, we still have a chance of survival." Shirchuankong shouted at Husan. Husan had already stood up from where he was. His hand reached into his sleeve, and he silently nodded. A Tai and a golden immortal dare to challenge me? Ridiculous. Enqua snorted. He removed a black seal hanging from his waist and casually tossed it forward into the air. A streak of black light shot out. After leaving his hand by just 3 feet, its radiance surged and instantly transformed into a black square seal the size of a millstone. For glowing words on its bottom lit up brightly, reading all-encompassing, as it smashed directly toward Shirchuankong. A strange light flashed in Shirchuankong's eyes. He formed hand seals with both hands, and his body retreated rapidly. A heavy boom rang out. For some unknown reason, the black square seal suddenly flashed, and its speed abruptly increased. In an instant, it struck Shirchuankong's body and sent him flying backward, smashing him violently into the wall. "Brother, sure." Husan had only just cried out when a ball of bloody light lit up around him, and his body directly exploded apart. "Too weak to withstand a single blow," Enqua said lightly, his expression filled with disdain. His gaze crossed the lightning pools and looked inward. He saw Han Li, covered in blood and in a miserable state, as well as the violent silver lightning raging around him. A flicker of fear appeared deep in Enqua's eyes. At that moment, his brows suddenly furrowed, and his gaze shifted toward the black square seal. Cracking sounds rang out. A series of sounds like shattering porcelain came from behind the black square seal. A large spread of visible spatial cracks extended from there, twisting the surrounding void. Behind the square seal, Shirchuankong was forming a strange hand seal with both hands. In front of his palms floated a white jade pendant the size of a walnut, covered in flickering runes and releasing intense spatial fluctuations. That strange layer of spatial fluctuation was like a wall of space, blocking between Shirchuankong and the black square seal. "I almost forgot. You brat know a little spatial law ability," Enqua said with a cold snort. As he spoke, he raised one palm and pressed it fiercely into the air before him. A thunderous boom rang out. A vast force like mountains toppling and seas overturning came from the black giant seal, instantly crushing that spatial wall until it exploded apart. The white jade pendant in front of Shirchuankong's palms also shattered with it. The black square seal expanded again, doubling in size as it continued to slam forward. Shirchuankong spat out a mouthful of blood. With his back against the cracked wall, great waves of silver and black light bloomed over his body. The muscles throughout his body swelled rapidly, and his figure grew at astonishing speed. Black scales the size of copper coins appeared across his skin. Complex silver runes emerged over his chest and limbs. His snow-white hair lengthened rapidly, and his handsome face disappeared, replaced by a ferocious visage with a huge mouth and sharp fangs. He had transformed into a 100-zhang giant demon. At the same time, bones protruded from his back and beneath his arms, and 4 more arms actually grew out. Silver patterns appeared on them as well, and all of them swung forward, pushing their palms out together. Layers of silver light waves lit up in his palms, stacking upon one another as they struck the black giant seal, which had already grown as large as a small mountain. A tremendous boom rang out. The black giant seal shook violently. Not only did its crushing momentum stop at once, it was actually sent flying back toward Enqua. Enqua merely raised his brows slightly. With a sweep of one sleeve, the black square seal flying back with the force to destroy a city flashed with black light, rapidly shrank, and was taken into his sleeve. "Is that all you are capable of? Then you can die," Enqua said without hiding his contempt. As soon as he finished speaking, he formed a hand seal with one hand and spread the 5 fingers of his other hand, thrusting it forward. A ball of pitch-black light suddenly lit up in his palm like a black sun exploding. But just then a sudden change occurred. Enqua felt the light and shadow before his eyes blur. His whole body tightened, and the flesh over him instantly ruptured. From within his blood and flesh, one bewitching blood-red flower after another suddenly grew. Every petal of those blood-colored flowers looked full and fleshy, as plump as a woman's lips. Drops of blood rolled over them like morning dew, making the sight extremely eerie. Enqua looked down and discovered that his flesh seemed to have become nourishment for these blood-red flowers. They were frantically feeding on him. The more vivid and beautiful the petals became, the more shriveled his body grew. After all, this place cannot compare to your immortal realm. We rarely see such a splendid scene of flowers here. If I were not in such a poor mood, I truly would not want to break this flashy little illusion so quickly, Enqua said with a cold laugh. Although he spoke lightly, doubt filled his heart. He actually did not understand when he had fallen into the illusion. Break! He softly chanted a few strange incantations, then suddenly shouted. The shout was like thunder exploding across dry land, shaking the entire void of the giant hall. An incomparably powerful fluctuation spread from his body, sweeping through like wind scattering ashes. All the strange flowers and visions were extinguished layer by layer and vanished without a trace. Brother sure now? At that moment Husan's sharp shout came from the void. As the last of the illusions hovered between destruction and disappearance, the sound of a pipa rang out. Enqua had just freed himself from the illusion when his brows lifted. He saw a figure shooting straight toward him from ahead, holding a silver pipa in his arms, his blood-soaked fingers rapidly plucking the strings. It was Shichuankong. The sound of the pipa grew increasingly urgent. Runes on the silver pipa lit up one after another. Then his fingers suddenly paused, and a dazzling silver crystalline light appeared on the strings, like an arrow knocked upon a bowstring, ready to be released. In that hazy instant, Enqua suddenly felt his heart tremble. An inexplicable chill rose from behind him. That silver crystalline light actually seemed capable of threatening him. At this moment, Shichuankong was suspended in midair. Almost all of his immortal spiritual power had been drained by the raksha pipa in his hands. His whole body trembled violently, yet the hand pulling the string remained exceptionally steady. Release! Just as he was about to run out of strength, his fingers suddenly loosened. A dazzling silver crystalline light shot out instantly. There was almost no loss of time and no sense of spatial distance. The instant the crystalline light left the pipa, it struck directly into Enqua's chest. A cracking sound rang out. At the critical moment, a black square seal appeared in front of Enqua's chest and blocked the crystalline light. Without the slightest obstruction, and without any thunderous collision, black light flashed over the seal. A long narrow crack split through its center, cutting it directly in two. One half of the black seal fell to the ground, while the other half disappeared into thin air. Behind the broken seal, Enqua used that split second it had bought him. Thunder and lightning erupted violently around him, and his human-shaped body instantly transformed into a brilliant mass of black lightning that shot to the side. His speed had reached an extreme, its effect almost comparable to Hanli reversing the true mantra wheel. Even so, the black lightning still failed to completely avoid the silver crystalline light. The portion of lightning it touched vanished without a sound, just like the missing half of the square seal. With a sizzling crackle, black lightning flashed to one side of the giant hall, and Enqua's figure emerged from within it. His face was filled with fear and fury. Clenching his teeth, he lowered his head to glance at the left side of his body and discovered that his entire left arm, along with his shoulder, had vanished. At the bloody, mangled wound, lingering spatial law power still remained, preventing him from regenerating his flesh. After Enqua steadied himself, he raised his head and looked ahead. Shi Chuankong was lying on the ground, trembling all over, his palm a bloody mess, yet still clutching the silver pipa in a death grip. Tisk tsk. What an excellent spatial immortal artifact. If you were also a great Luo cultivator and could activate it with your full strength, I truly might not be your match. Unfortunately, you are nothing more than a mere gold immortal, Enqua said with a few sinister chuckles. As soon as he finished speaking, his remaining hand suddenly opened. Black light flickered in his palm, and clusters of condensed black baleful lightning spun out, shooting in from all directions toward Shi Chuankong. At that moment, Shi Chuankong was nearly exhausted. He had not the slightest strength to fight back, and he could not even release protective spiritual light. At the critical moment, Husan's figure flashed over and appeared in front of Shi Chuankong. Light flared behind him, and 9 thick white fox tails suddenly stretched out, sweeping up and down through the void toward the black baleful lightning. A series of violent explosions rang out as large patches of black lightning burst apart in every direction. Husan let out a miserable cry. Electric light crisscrossed over his huge white fox tails, and the smell of scorching spread through the air. He only felt his entire body go numb, and even the circulation of immortal spiritual power inside him seemed to become sluggish and blocked. Before he could recover, another thunderous explosion rang out. A sheet of black lightning flashed toward him, and Enqua's figure emerged from within it. His feet came stomping down like a mountain pressing from above, landing directly on Husan's shoulders. With a tearing crackle, 2 streams of black lightning shot out from Enqua's feet. They pierced straight through Husan's shoulders and sank into his body. A sharp cracking sound followed. Husan felt a burst of agony in both shoulders. The bones on his left and right sides shattered instantly. His body sank, and his legs cut into the ground like blades, leaving half of him buried beneath the surface. Since you are tired of living, I will show mercy and send you on your way first. A savage look flashed across Enqua's face. His right hand curled into a claw, black baleful lightning gathering and coiling in his palm, as though a layer of lightning steel claws had been fitted over it. He thrust it straight down toward Husan's crown. It's over. In that instant, Husan could not move at all, and despair flooded his heart. Just then a sudden change occurred. With a crackling roar of thunder, a dazzling silver bolt shot out from the lightning pool. It streaked forward like a silver arrow, tearing the surrounding void into violent distortion. Enqua's eyes flashed. The hand stabbing toward Husan abruptly shifted aside, and at the tips of his 5 fingers, black lightning beads the size of longan fruits condensed. They shot out one after another, colliding repeatedly with the silver bolt. A chain of thunderous blasts erupted. Clusters of baleful lightning burst apart one after another. Countless strands of black electricity were burned by the silver lightning and scattered rapidly like melting snow. The silver arrow suffered almost no loss. It sped forward and shot straight toward the vital point in Enqua's chest. Enqua's expression changed sharply. He twisted his body with sudden force, but he only barely avoided a fatal hit. The silver lightning still pierced through him, tearing a massive gash beneath his left ribs. With a heavy bang, Enqua was blasted backward by the exploding lightning and slammed hard into the wall of the great hall. How is this possible? He lowered his head and stared at the mangled wound beneath his left ribs in disbelief. Strands of silver lightning lingered in the terrible wound, refusing to disperse. They continuously devoured the baleful aura slowly leaking from his body, while drilling inward like poisonous insects. Enqua's shoulders trembled. He pulled himself free from the cracked wall and slowly landed on the ground. Behind him, the stone wall collapsed with a crash, countless rocks tumbling down amid billowing dust. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked toward the lightning pool. The anger in his gaze gradually faded, replaced by his usual cold indifference. Inside the lightning pool, silver light surged. pillars of silver lightning shot into the sky, and a figure hovered within the thunder, walking out step by step. His appearance was ordinary. Naturally, it was Han Li. At that moment, his body was charred black, his clothes torn to rags. His skin was covered in red cracks like molten lava, and wisps of black baleful aura seeped out from them. However, his eyes were exceptionally bright. The silver-gray color that had once filled his pupils was gone. They had returned to a color somewhere between brown and black. Clearly, the baleful aura inside him had been almost completely cleansed. Husan had already struggled free. Taking advantage of the fact that Enqua's attention was focused on Han Li, he hurriedly brought Shi Chuankong back to the edge of the lightning pool. Enduring the unbearable pain throughout his body, he fed both himself and Shi Chuankong a pill each, then forced himself upright and stared warily at Enqua. Still, the corner of his eye could not help but glance toward Han Li. "Brother Li, what is this?" Husan sensed that Han Li's aura was somewhat strange and could not help asking through voice transmission. "I was lucky enough to survive and endure the cleansing. The baleful aura in my body has mostly been washed away, and my physical body and spiritual sense have also been tempered. Now that I no longer have the burden of that baleful aura, I feel as though I have been reborn," Han Li replied through voice transmission. He only said half of the truth. In reality, his current aura should already have reached the half-step Tai stage. However, it was different from Bailey Yan's half-step Tai state back then. Because he had taken that supreme-grade Tai pill, both his physical body and his sea of consciousness had undergone certain changes. He seemed to have formed a very subtle connection with the silver lightning pool, and because of that, the final bottleneck before his breakthrough had also been broken. He even faintly felt that as soon as he left the gray realm and returned to the immortal realm, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth would immediately pour into him, allowing him to truly take that final step and become a Tai Jade immortal. As he spoke, Han Li's gaze swept toward Taihun, and the huge gray-white fox transformed from ancestor Lu Qi not far away. The battle there was just as fierce and was in no way easier than the one on their side. Although Yin Chengquan was only a soul fragment of his true body, his strength absolutely could not be underestimated. Even with ancestor Lu Qi and Taihun joining forces with all their strength, they were only barely able to suppress him. "If I remember correctly, you cultivate a time cultivation method. Why are you able to command the lightning in the cleansing baleful pool?" Enqua asked slowly while swiftly regulating his breath and recovering. Han Li did not answer. He only gripped 2 mid-grade immortal essence stones tightly in both hands and rapidly absorbed the immortal spiritual power contained within them. 9 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords floated around him, green light flowing in all directions as golden lightning strands coiled around them. Behind his waist hung the emerald Xintian gourd. Enqua swept his gaze over Han Li and the others. His eyes narrowed slightly, and his mood turned gloomy. The arm Shi Chuankong had previously severed with the spatial immortal artifact still carried residual fluctuations of spatial law, and those fluctuations showed no sign of weakening. Most likely, that arm would not regrow for several hundred years. The wound under his left ribs had also been invaded by the silver lightning from the cleansing baleful pool, making it impossible to heal quickly. He never imagined that the 3 people he had been able to crush casually earlier would cause him such a great loss the moment he grew careless. Of course, this also had much to do with the fact that he had only recently broken through to the Great Luo stage. His realm was not yet fully stabilized, and he had forcefully condensed 5 ghost soul insects not long ago, badly damaging his vitality. Even so, he was still a Great Luo Grey immortal. How could he possibly have no other means? Seeing that Han Li did not speak, Enqua said nothing more. His remaining hand rose upright before him, constantly changing gestures and forming incantation seals. Then he drew a huge arc in front of his body. Black mist surged wildly within the arc, strands of black lightning crackled, and hundreds of long spears formed from black baleful lightning shot out, raining down toward Han Li and the others. Han Li's heart stirred. His profound apertures blazed with light, and a layer of golden scales appeared on his skin. The black tortoise armor emerged around him, yet he did not dodge at all. Instead, he stepped forward and took the initiative to charge toward Enqua. The baleful lightning spears arrived in an instant, shooting toward Han Li from all sides. The 9 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords hovering beside him moved according to his will and shot straight toward the lightning spears. Thunderous explosions rang out continuously. Black baleful lightning and divine devilbane lightning burst apart at the same time, lighting up with clusters of gold-black radiance. With each explosion, the momentum of an azure bamboo cloudswarm sword was stopped. The sword trembled violently, and its spiritual light dimmed sharply. Han Li was deeply connected to the cloudswarm swords. Every time a sword was damaged, the immortal spiritual power in his body shook violently, impacting his internal organs until they trembled. Scarlet blood kept flowing from the corner of his mouth. Even so, he still did not stop. He continued charging forward. Before long, all 9 azure bamboo cloudswarm swords were knocked to the ground. Han Li had no time to retrieve them before more baleful lightning spears stabbed forward, striking his black tortoise armor. Blow after blow landed. Han Li coughed up mouthfuls of blood. Cracks spread all over the dark green armor on his body, and it looked as though it would shatter at any moment. Even so, the distance between him and Enqua had shortened greatly. 300 zhang. 200 zhang. 100 zhang. At that moment, the mantra-treasured wheel inside Han Li began reversing at high speed. His figure blurred slightly, passing through the gaps between the black spears. In an instant, he arrived before Enqua. Golden light surged wildly behind him, and the mantra-treasured wheel was about to emerge. If he released the mantra-treasured wheel at such close range, even Enqua, with his great Luo cultivation, would certainly be affected and slowed down. Then Han Li would have a chance to severely injure him. Yet before Han Li could release the mantra-treasured wheel, the corner of Enqua's mouth curved into a smile. You came at just the right time. With a loud shout, thunder suddenly rumbled in the void around Han Li. Thick bolts of black baleful lightning appeared out of nowhere, wrapping directly around his limbs and body. They pulled in all directions and imprisoned him in midair. Enqua raised his hand and seized at the void. A mass of black lightning stretched out from his palm to both sides, instantly transforming into a black spear as thick as a child's arm. Electric strands gathered at its tip, crackling non-stop. Without saying another word, he gripped the baleful lightning spear and thrust it fiercely toward Han Li's brow. Not far away, Husan and Shi Chuankong turned pale with shock. Just as Enqua's baleful lightning spear was about to pierce Han Li's head, the nearby void suddenly churned. Several crystal chains appeared without warning. In a flash, they sank into Enqua's mind, and his protective light barrier could not block them in the slightest. The thrusting motion of the baleful lightning spear stopped abruptly. The expression on his face froze, and his entire body stiffened in place. At the same time, golden scales rose on Han Li's arms. He clenched both fists and forced them forward. The black baleful lightning wrapped around his body stretched under the pull, crackling with electric blasts, but it did not break. With every explosion of baleful lightning, a powerful force drilled into Han Li's body, making him numb. Seeing this, Husan hesitated for a moment before his figure flashed and appeared behind Enqua. He clenched one hand in the air, and the silver-edged longsword from before appeared again. Its radiance flared as waves of sword chi burst forth, stabbing straight toward Enqua's back. Just as the tip of the sword was about to pierce Enqua's back, Han Li's heart suddenly tightened, and he shouted, "Retreat!" Husan was startled, but without the slightest hesitation, he immediately withdrew at full speed. In the next instant, a black bead appeared between Enqua's brows. Black light erupted from it, and it exploded with a bang, directly shattering the spiritual sense chains that had entered his mind. A powerful aura then burst from his body. 8 baleful lightning spider spears extended from his back, carrying black electric light as they stabbed in all directions. If Husan had not retreated in time, he would have been pierced on the spot by those spider spears. Enqua's body trembled slightly, but he did not make any further movements. It seemed that because he had just broken free from the cage of spiritual sense, his consciousness was still somewhat sluggish. The release of the 8 baleful lightning spider spears had only been an instinctive act of self-protection. When Han Li saw this, his mind stirred. Green light flashed at the mouth of the Shantian gourd hanging behind him, and a series of crackling sounds suddenly rang out. Immediately afterward, a dazzling sheet of silver lightning surged out from within, transforming into a bright electric net that enveloped him. This silver lightning was none other than what Han Li had collected with the Shantian gourd, while cleansing his baleful aura in the silver lightning pool. The silver arrow that had previously driven Enqua back had also been released from the gourd. Unfortunately, the Xintian gourd's endurance toward the lightning in the cleansing baleful pool was limited. Storing the silver lightning already carried the risk of damaging the gourd's spirituality, so Hanli dared not try drawing in the golden lightning. The silver electric net and the black baleful lightning intertwined, raising bursts of smoke. Most of the black lightning wrapped around Hanli immediately dissolved. Hanli shook both arms again and finally broke free. At this point there was no more room to retreat. Golden light flashed over his body as he rushed forward more than 100 zhang, heading straight for Enqua. By now, Enqua had also recovered his spiritual sense. Sensing Hanli approaching, the 8 baleful lightning spider spears outside his body stabbed forward at the same time, gathering together before him. A black lightning ball the size of a human head condensed within them and flew toward Hanli. Not much lightning leaked from the surface of the black lightning ball, making it look unimpressive. Yet within it, several dozen miniature dragon-shaped bolts of lightning swam non-stop, waiting only for the ball to rupture before charging out. Hanli's heart tightened. He could sense how strange that lightning ball was, but his figure did not stop in the slightest. With a flick of his wrist, he took out the heavenly fox blood-transforming saber, raised it in both hands, and chopped down toward Enqua's head. The immortal spiritual power inside him poured rapidly into the long saber. Blood-colored patterns shone brightly across the blade, and a violent saber force erupted. Wrapped in the saber light surging from within, it condensed into a giant saber shadow that seemed almost solid and struck down upon the black lightning ball. At the edge of the cleansing baleful pool, Shi Chuankong had recovered quite a bit. He sat cross-legged on the ground, gripping an immortal essence stone and absorbing immortal spiritual power. A strange look flickered through his eyes. After being cleansed in the silver lightning pool, Hanli's strength had clearly risen greatly. The power of this strike was already no weaker than when the several of them had joined forces to sever the first chain. With a thunderous boom, the saber light and lightning ball collided. A heaven-shaking explosion erupted. A mass of black lightning burst open like flames, causing the entire great hall to tremble violently. Even Yin Chengquan and ancestor Lu Qi were drawn by the commotion, and could not help glancing over. Taihun was even more worried for Hanli. Within the violent lightning blooming from the lightning ball, the shadows of lightning flood dragons struggled fiercely. They were firmly suppressed by the heavenly fox blood-transforming saber, and could not break free. Only a few residual electric arcs continued spilling toward Hanli. Hanli's hands trembled violently as he gripped the saber. His entire body was repeatedly struck by baleful lightning, and wisps of green smoke rose from him. Blood flowed from his mouth and nose, winding out like little snakes. Yet he still clenched his teeth, his strength not weakening at all. He even pushed the blade downward bit by bit, forcing the 8 spider spears behind Enqua to bend back little by little. A savage look appeared on Enqua's face. His lips opened and closed as he chanted for a moment. Then light suddenly flashed in his gray-white eyes, and deep within his pupils, the faint shadow of an insect appeared. Almost at the same time, the slug-like ghost soul insect in Hanli's sea of consciousness, which had been quiet for a long while, suddenly showed a strange pattern of runes across its body and began wriggling once more. "Come taste that long-lost pain again." Enqua sneered, his remaining arms 5 fingers clawing downward through the air. 5 beams of black light shot continuously from his fingertips, passed through the black baleful lightning ahead, and flew straight toward Hanli. "Seal!" Hanli's brows tightened, but the corner of his mouth curved slightly as he shouted. As his voice fell, the spirit refinement technique in his sea of consciousness began circulating rapidly. The crystal chains of spiritual sense wrapped around the ghost soul insect instantly tightened. Several other thinner but more condensed crystal chains emerged from the void and pierced directly through the ghost soul insect's body, crisscrossing as they pinned it in place. Powerful spiritual sense clung to these crystal chains, and tiny runes appeared across them. Once again, they tightly imprisoned the restless ghost soul insect. When the 5 beams of black light came flying in, they were scattered the moment they approached Hanli's head by a powerful wave of spiritual sense that suddenly erupted. How is this possible? This time Enqua was truly shocked. He understood the power of the ghost soul insect better than anyone. But now, under the support of the fifth layer of the spirit refinement technique, Han Li's spiritual sense was no longer what it once was. In addition, after the baptism of the previous 3 lightning pools, he was now able to counter the ghost soul insect. Han Li's expression did not change. Immortal spiritual power surged out from his body again, and he clenched the saber hilt with both hands, pressing down with all his strength. The 8 spider spears supporting the black lightning ball finally could not withstand it. They were all forced apart by the saber light, and the black lightning ball was split in 2 by a single slash. Seeing this, Han Li's pupils suddenly shrank. An extremely strange scene appeared before his eyes. The heavenly fox blood-transforming saber fell straight down. From the crown of Enqua's head, a clear black line appeared, running down through his chest and abdomen. His body split into 2 halves. With mere half-step Tai cultivation, forcing me to use a baleful spirit substitute is enough for you to take pride in. Unfortunately, that is all. Enqua's mouth, already split in 2, opened and closed strangely as he spoke. Immediately afterward, black light flashed violently over his body, and with a bang he exploded. He transformed into something between black baleful lightning and a physical body, half illusory and half real, spreading out into a screen of lightning. At the same time, the black lightning ball also exploded violently. The lightning-flood dragon phantoms coiled within it rushed out like wild horses freed from their reins and slammed straight into Han Li's chest. The black tortoise armor appeared over Han Li again, but it could not resist in the slightest. The moment it touched the lightning-flood dragons, it shattered completely. His body resounded with constant explosions, as though drums were being beaten inside him. Large sprays of blood burst out, but before they could scatter, they were blasted into a bloody mist by the lightning. The long saber fell from Han Li's hand. He could not even let out a scream. His body was like a lone leaf in a violent storm, left to drift helplessly. Husan watched from afar, and a deep sense of powerlessness rose in his heart. Master! Taihun could no longer afford to keep entangling in Qingquan's soul fragment, and tried to break away. You want to save him? Foolish dream. In Qingquan's soul fragment smiled broadly and moved to block her. At this critical moment, how could he allow Taihun to go save her master? The baleful lightning screen that had just spread out suddenly closed from all directions, forming a black spherical barrier several dozen zhang wide that wrapped Han Li entirely inside. The sphere was extremely solid and almost completely blocked out all light. Inside, baleful aura was dense and lightning roared. Thick bolts of black lightning wrapped around Han Li's limbs and neck like ropes, pulling him into a spread eagle shape and suspending him in midair. Not far in front of him, a mass of black baleful lightning condensed and once again transformed into a human form. It was Enqua. You have quite a few true spirit bloodlines in your body, including true thunder rock blood. With such vigorous blood chi, if I thoroughly refine you with baleful lightning, you should be enough to make up for what I consumed in this battle. Perhaps you can even help further stabilize my realm. He slowly drifted toward Han Li, his face unusually pale, clearly looking as though he had consumed too much power. As he spoke, his body swelled to more than 10 zhang tall. A huge suddenly split open at his abdomen, as if a pitch-black giant mouth had appeared there out of nowhere. With a fierce inhale, it swallowed the heavily wounded Han Li into his belly. Baleful domain. Master, be careful. Taihun sensed Han Li's aura suddenly vanish and hurriedly turned to look, only to see the huge black sphere. But the moment her attention wavered, Yin Qingquan's soul fragment raised one hand and sent her flying. She smashed into the wall of the great hall, and was embedded directly into the mountain wall. After only a few breaths, lightning surged across the black sphere. Strands of baleful lightning flew out, and the sphere gradually became transparent. Enqua's figure appeared within it. Fellow Taoist Li, am I Shi Chuankong truly going to be buried here? Seeing that Han Li had vanished, Shi Chuankong sighed inwardly, and a trace of despair flashed through his eyes. Enqua beckoned with one hand, and all the baleful lightning strands gathered from every direction into his palm. The baleful domain he had condensed vanished along with them. Boy, have you been waiting anxiously? Next it is your turn. Enqua first glanced at his severed arm, then turned his gaze darkly toward Shi Chuankong and smiled. After saying this, he slowly stepped toward Shi Chuankong. Shi Chuankong's brows furrowed tightly. His hand, hidden inside his sleeve, released the Immortal Essence Stone and formed a strange incantation gesture. A burning pain spread across his back, and a sealed rune appeared there. As long as Shi Chuankong activated it with his mind, that secret rune, whose cost was unimaginably great, would take effect. At that moment he would launch his true and final desperate strike. But just then, another sudden change occurred. Enqua's expression changed sharply. A violent thunderclap suddenly rang out from his abdomen, and a dazzling silver light flared up like a blazing sun. Immediately afterward, countless silver arcs exploded outward, blasting a huge hole straight through his abdomen. Waves of scorching silver flame surged out wildly. A sharp cry rang out, and a giant silver firebird spread its wings and flew out from Enqua's abdomen. After spinning once in midair, it charged straight toward his chest. Standing on the silver flame firebird's back was a man covered in wounds. It was Hanli. Everyone around the cleansing baleful pool was stunned by this sudden scene. Taihun even ignored her injuries and struggled down from the wall, staring nervously at Hanli. In Chengchuan's expression also changed, his face turning extremely ugly. Ancestor Lu Qi's eyes narrowed slightly, and the surprise in his gaze was greater than his joy. With a loud boom, the silver flame firebird slammed directly into Enqua's chest. Rolling silver flames surged out and instantly wrapped around his entire body. Impossible! What is this? Enqua's terrified voice came from within the flames. Baleful lightning exploded continuously across his body, yet he still could not shake off the silver flames. For some unknown reason, the silver flames, like the lightning in the cleansing baleful pool, had an extremely strong restraining effect on him. Its power was likely second only to the terrifying lightning in the golden lightning pool. How could Enqua know that the essence flame firebird had already swallowed 3 7-colored fire pills? The power of its flames had long reached the Tai stage. If Hanli had not forcefully awakened it and instead allowed it to fully refine them, its power would likely have reached at least the late Tai stage. Moreover, the essence flame firebird innately restrained baleful aura. Since it had erupted from within his body, the result was naturally twice as effective with half the effort. Seeing this, Shi Chuankong and Hu San were overjoyed. In Chengchuan's soul fragment in midair darkened in expression, while Ancestor Lu Qi gave Hanli a deep look, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. As the flames surged fiercely, Enqua struggled with all his might, but it was useless. At that moment, a streak of black light suddenly shot out from within the flames. It revealed a tiny black figure 4 or 5 inches tall, its whole body filled with dense baleful aura. Electric light flashed around it, and it instantly vanished into the void. Hanli and the others wanted to stop it, but they were too late. They could only let it leave. With a thud, Enqua's body crashed to the ground and fell forward, completely turning into a charred corpse. Hanli leaped down from the essence flame firebird's back and waved a hand, recalling the scattered azure bamboo cloudswarm swords into his body. But he discovered that all 9 flying swords trembled faintly, as though unwilling to return. He hesitated slightly and sensed them through his mind for a moment. A trace of uncertainty flashed through his eyes. Then he beckoned again, and only then did the flying swords reluctantly fly back into his body. After that, he casually beckoned once more, drawing the heavenly fox blood-transforming saber into his hand, and walked to Enqua's corpse. After inspecting it, he found a white bone token hanging at Enqua's side, so he casually removed it and put it away. The essence flame firebird once again transformed into a small silver flame figure, and landed on Hanli's shoulder, still looking drowsy. "Master, how are you?" Taihun came to Hanli's side and hurriedly asked. "It is nothing serious. I was only burned by the baleful lightning, and my internal organs were somewhat shaken. What about you? How are your injuries?" Hanli shook his head and said, "Master." He still seemed to want to use my divine ability, so he did not strike to kill me. "My injuries are not severe," Taihun said bitterly. "Brotherly, this is not the time to relax. The ancestor still needs our help." Hu San hurried forward, his face full of worry. Hanli turned his gaze over and saw that without Taihun's help, the situation that had barely been suppressed earlier had immediately changed. In Chengchuan's soul fragment had clearly gained the upper hand. Master, I will go help, Taihun immediately said. No need to rush. Ancestor Lu Qi can still hold on for a while. We must seize the time to recover from our injuries and replenish our immortal spiritual power. After that, we will work together to sever the third chain. Senior Lu Qi's strength will surely increase greatly then. At that point, even without our help, he should be able to drive Yin Chengquan back, Hanli said, raising a hand to stop her. Each of these 4 chains is stronger than the last. Brother Li, are you truly confident you can sever it? Husan asked, the worry in his eyes not diminishing. Rest assured. After being tempered by the silver lightning pool, I have a 70% chance of severing that silver chain in one strike. The only condition is that we must replenish as much immortal spiritual power as possible first, Hanli said calmly. Then let us follow fellow Taoist Li's plan, Shi Chuankong also said. Only then did Husan fall silent. The group sat down cross-legged one after another, and began adjusting their breathing as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, at the assembly venue in the Fallen Lake district, Yin Chengquan, who had left midway, had returned to the venue. Ever since sitting down, he seemed calm on the surface, but the look deep in his eyes had remained unsettled, as though he were weighed down by heavy concerns. The atmosphere in the venue still had not improved and remained somewhat awkward. Domain Lord Yin, the discussion has reached this point. Continuing this stalemate has little meaning. Why not proceed to the vote as soon as possible? Huang Fuyu frowned slightly and spoke. Yin Chengquan seemed not to have heard at all. He only gently rotated the gray ring on the little finger of his left hand, lost in thought. Domain Lord Yin, Palace Lord Huangfu's words are reasonable. At this stage, all disputed matters have already been discussed. Why not begin the vote? Xiaobai raised his voice slightly and also spoke. Only after this reminder did Yin Chengquan seem to suddenly come back to himself. A smile appeared on his face and he said, Please be patient, both of you. According to the assembly schedule, it is not yet time to vote. We may as well wait a little longer. As soon as he finished speaking, the right hand turning the gray ring suddenly recoiled as though it had been shocked and slipped back into his sleeve. A flash of disbelief and shock passed through his eyes. He lowered his head to look at the ring on his left hand inside his sleeve and discovered that the silver stripe on it had suddenly trembled with light. Yin Chengquan concealed this series of movements extremely well, but he still failed to escape Huang Fuyu's notice. Huang Fuyu was also inwardly surprised. He had been extremely wary of this alliance meeting from the beginning, and had long been guarding against the 9 Nether clans suddenly making some covert move. But now that the meeting had progressed this far, apart from the earlier abnormal occurrence, nothing else had happened. Instead, Yin Chengquan himself appeared deeply unsettled, as if the 9 Nether clan had encountered a fair amount of trouble on its own. Yin Chengquan rubbed his hand inside his sleeve, and was just about to rise when his expression changed again. This time his shock was far greater than before, so much so that he even forgot to conceal the change on his face. What is wrong, Domain Lord Yin? Could there be another disturbance in the soul-washing district? If your people cannot handle it, why not invite the various domain lords present to go with you and help eliminate the problem? It would also be a fine way to unite the tribes of each domain, Huang Fuyu said with a smile, his heart stirring slightly. If something happened inside my 9 Nether clans Azura City that we ourselves could not resolve, would that not make us a laughingstock before all of you? I was merely considering fellow Taoist Huang Fu's earlier proposal. Yin Chengquan's face returned to normal as he spoke. Huang Fuyu's brows lifted almost imperceptibly. A strange look flashed through his eyes, and he suddenly sent a voice transmission. Jiao San, have the wedges you planted in Azura City found out any news? It is roughly the same as the information sent earlier. They only said that a major change has occurred in the soul-washing district. The nearby Taming Darkness district, 100 Storehouse district, and Bitter River district have all activated their city defense restrictions. The great Luo cultivator Yin Lin, who was stationed in the Bitter River district, has also rushed to the soul-washing district. Also, the commotion over there seems to be growing larger and larger, Jiao San replied through voice transmission, his expression unchanged. No wonder that old fox Yin Chengquan has changed his tone. It seems he really is anxious, Huang Fuyu transmitted back with a smile. So Domain Lord Yin intends to accept Domain Lord Huangfu's suggestion and vote now? Xiaobai raised a brow and asked. The assembly process is not yet complete, and the views of all parties are not unified. I actually feel that now is not the best time to vote. Why do we not temporarily set aside the dispute and choose another auspicious day to discuss it again? After all, this matter concerns the future development of our Grey Realm, and it should not be rushed, Yin Chengquan said with a smile. As soon as he said this, before Huangfu could speak, Xiaobai was already loudly objecting. Domain Lord Yin, your Azura city is hardly a scenic paradise. Making a trip here may not be a journey of thousands of miles, but it was certainly not easy. Gathering so many domain lords and clan chiefs together has cost no small amount of effort. If we have to do it all again, I fear the prestige of our 3 great domains will suffer a heavy blow, he said, waving his hands repeatedly. Domain Lord Xiao worries too much. If we discuss it again next time, how could it still be hosted by our 9 nether domain? Naturally, we would bring our people to your Black Rope domain to attend the meeting, Yin Chengquan said, sidestepping the main issue. Domain Lord Yin, that would be far too much trouble for everyone. We are not in such a hurry over this short span of time. We can simply extend the meeting. As long as we can reach a resolution that most people trust, even waiting a few more days would be no problem. Huangfu suddenly changed his earlier attitude and spoke. Hearing this, Yin Qingquan's brow twitched slightly. A trace of displeasure flashed and vanished from his face. Then he shifted his gaze toward Xiaobai. Domain Lord Xiao, what do you think? He asked. Xiaobai noticed that the two had completely switched attitudes, both making a full 180-degree turn. At that, he understood the current situation. Well, both of you make sense. However, our Grey Realm has been divided among 3 sides for a long time, and we still have no conclusion regarding the matter of the Immortal Realm. This has left the people of every domain uneasy, and that is ultimately no good thing. I worry that if we continue delaying, the rift will only grow wider and wider. When that time comes, even if we want to mend it, it may be difficult. So it is better to decide as soon as possible and not choose another day. Xiaobai pretended to think deeply for a moment, then spoke the set of words he had long prepared.